Hello, I wanted to say a few words today about players' pranks. And one of the reasons why I wanted to say these things to you, and I've been doing a little bit of a series on players and their pranks, is to raise our awareness, really, to raise our consciousness as far as the dynamics that can occur so that we can help to keep ourselves safe. So my reason for doing most of this stuff is to raise awareness and to help us to be more consciously aware of what may be happening rather than is usually the case, in that we generally just accept what comes along and sometimes do not really think about why people are doing what they're doing, or even why we are doing what we're doing. So I wanted to highlight just a couple of points, really, as far as people who may be playing us in a number of ways. And there are all sorts of different players. It's not just sexual players that are out there. People sometimes play us in a whole number of ways, and for different reasons sometimes. So my offering today really is to highlight a few of the pranks, shall I say, if you will, that may be played by players in order to keep us on the hook and to keep us involved in the game, and importantly, to keep us in line with their agenda. So one of the tips that I've put here is being consistently late or not turning up at all. And one of the reasons that this can happen, and we're all late sometimes for different reasons, I'm not talking about accidental lateness or things that have happened and occurred at the last minute that we had no control over at all. But what I'm talking about is consistently being late when you've particularly mentioned the fact that being on time is a value that you place in high regard. So often a player will actually test us by doing the very thing that we've mentioned is very important to us, because it then becomes a way of manipulating us so that we can be more easily controlled, because we've, in a sense, told them where our vulnerabilities are by saying, this is really important to me, that people are on time, I feel respected. And so some people will use those things that are important to us in order to play us and to play a prank on us. Another thing, as far as standing someone up is concerned, is that a player will often leave it till the very last moment. It may be that they've arranged to come at 8 o'clock, and a player may leave it until 2 minutes to 8 before they call or text to say they're not coming, because they know that you've probably prepared and been looking forward to this all day, and leaving the timing is very important, because the impact is greater then than if they'd have called and respectfully told us hours before, or preferably the day before, that they weren't able to make it. So the issue also, of course, is respect. Not respecting our need to know, not respecting our time. Because it's also saying that their time and attention is more important than ours. And so the effect by using timing in those instances is much more powerful, because we become much more upset if it's done in the moment when we are expecting something good to occur. But instead of that, something negative happens. And so we are more easily toppled. So standing up is used quite commonly, really, by players. And what usually happens when you're of a kind and understanding nature is that you leave it and say, okay, these things happen. But when it's constantly happening and someone is constantly letting it go, then it sends a message to the player that, hey, this could be good fun, because they're obviously going to let me get away with whatever it is I want to do. And so they up the ante then and increase the behaviour even more. Another tip along those lines is also messing up arrangements, whereby when the arrangements have been made, they may possibly turn up at another venue and call you or text you to say they're there, but they're not actually where you'd arranged to meet them, which sounds bizarre, and it can be bizarre if you've been in that situation, where someone seems to have taken control of the situation and the dynamics by changing things without our awareness and without notifying us. So you may be waiting in one place and they may turn up at another, and we may write that off and say, okay, that's cool, these things happen. But they can actually happen consistently on an ongoing basis as well, whereby the other person has actually taken the control, any control we may have had away from us, and they have directed things and controlled things in the way they want to go. Another tip that players will often do is to groom us for a particular role in the situation, which may be a one-down position, whereby we have no say, no control over anything that happens at all in the decision-making process. And that grooming may have happened over a period of time, so that we get used to handing over our power and not having any power in the relationship at all. And so it may take a little time, but we may find ourselves groomed in a certain way so that the player has all the control and their needs are met primarily, rather than us having any say in what is happening as far as the direction of the relationship is concerned. And my last tip is having many options. And a lot of players, especially sexual players, have a lot of options out there, on the go, on the boil, or simmering away there in the background, so that they have a number of options to fall back on. And in the meantime, we may find ourselves placed on the backbench or the reserve bench for later. And in this way, they have a little store cupboard of options building up in the background that they can fall back on in an emergency. And we may find that we are one of those options. And sometimes, if we have been placed on the option bench, we may find that we're not getting very much attention or if any at all, because players are often out there giving lots of attention to other people. And where that attention comes from often doesn't really matter, because attention is attention. And so we may find that we get little smidgens of attention every now and again, just to keep us interested and to make us believe that we are actually in some sort of arrangement or relationship with this person, who may be just keeping us simmering away for later. As always, stay safe and very happy. Bye bye.